Now, this main goal of fostering deep learning is a pedagogical goal. Um, and since all learning is bound to be learning about something, I'm bound to have some sub-goals, some topical sub-goals. I believe I have two such sub-goals, and they, in fact, arise from the way in which I understand what lies at the heart of the history of psychology. Um, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, that the history of psychology is the history of how a discipline tries to achieve the status of an empirical science. So psychology claims at the moment to be an empirical science. So the question is, what does that mean? What are uh, the main features of an empirical science? What, what, what are the main powers it has? What are the main strengths that it has? And what are the main weaknesses that empirical sciences have? Um, so the first half of my term teaching of history of psychology is devoted to creating situations where students will be brought to have insight into what empirical science is. Because I believe that without such insight, it is impossible to give any meaning to the history of psychology, which is the history of how a discipline is trying to achieve the status of an empirical science. So the first sub-goal is to aim at creating situations where students will open up will explore, will open up onto this problem space of what an empirical science is. Um, by the middle of the session, of course, I have to start wanting to focus more on the more specific issue of what an empirical science of the mind um, presents as key issues. So this is my second topical sub goal, which is to create situations where once the students have had some insight into what empirical science is, uh, situations where these insights into what empirical science is um, will 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 be used as the context within which um, they will be mobilized into exploring the problems associated with creating an empirical science of the mind. Typically, even this very way of characterizing this second sub goal presents a problem in itself. You know, most students have been brainwashed into talking about psychology as an empirical science of behavior. The very expression empirical science of the mind is far from having meaning for the students because they've been brought to believe that the mind cannot be the goal of the empirical science that psychology wants to be. There's some people even denying that there's anything uh, such as the mind. So the second half of the term is devoted to creating situations where the full problem space of defining what psychology should be an empirical science of becomes the issue at stake. So these two sub-goals, these two topical sub-goals, are what I would say um, characterize my mindset as I teach this course, History of Systems of Psychology.